Hello, everyone. Welcome to Quo Vadis Conferences Canada. Welcome to our first webinar. Please let us know in the chat if you can hear us. Hi. Hi, guys. Welcome. Great. Loud and clear. Perfect. Thank you for that, guys. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to give everyone 2 more minutes to sign in and to join before starting. Hey, guys.
Go Calgary.
Can everyone see me and hear me? Perfect. Great. Great. Okay, guys, welcome again to Quo Vadis Conferences Canada and to our first webinar. So we would like to start with a quick intro video. Please let us know if you can hear it and see it.
Hello and welcome to Quo Vadis Conferences, to our first ever webinar.
So we thank you for your patience and all your feedback that you're writing to us. Let us know how the video and how the presentation is going, because it is a learning experience for us, and we are still figuring out Denyo as well. But we're very happy, excited, and feeling blessed that you could join us. You'll notice that you're all on mute. However, we do encourage interaction. So if you see on the chat on your right-hand side, please post your questions in there. There's going to be a time later in the webinar where our special presenter will actually go through and answer your questions as well. And if you're having any technical difficulties, we're going to have Daria sort of see if she can help you throughout the webinar if any come up. We're not sure how that's going to work. I see Marika saying there's no audio. Just want to make sure if you're logging in through your computer or your phone that your volume is turned up, that you can hear us. And yeah, this, as I mentioned, this will be an interactive webinar, so not just through chat. We also have some polls for you that we'd like to do, and that's because we're going to be asking for your input and your feedback. And our presenter will be able to cater his presentation better to your interests and your needs and your situations, depending on where people are coming from. And I'm going to do a test poll right now, just because I want to see if it works. So let's, I'm just sharing a test poll right now. So next to the chat, you'll see polls. You can answer if you can hear me, yes, no, and wonderful. I see people are answering. So great, we're at a wonderful start to our webinar, and we are getting engagement. So perfect. And like I said, if you have any technical issues, let us know in the chat. We'll do our best to help you figure them out. And let's begin by, oh, one more thing I want to mention is, just so you all know and are aware of, we are recording this webinar, and that's so we could share it with all the registrants after, and also use it for promotional purposes. So let's begin by introducing ourselves.
Can everybody hear me? Hello. So I'm Anya Baritska, and
I'm Joanna Marks.
And we are board of directors for Quo Vadis Conferences Canada. We also have Daria Kazus with us, who you saw at the very beginning. She's Quo Vadis's intern. And she's very talented, very helpful, so please give her a warm welcome. So Quo Vadis is the name of a series of international conferences bringing together students and young professionals of Polish heritage from around the globe. Focused on the themes of heritage, leadership, and unity, Quo Vadis Conferences offers delegates both a valuable opportunity to network and a chance to learn practical skills from first-class speakers and presenters, like today from Craig Kitchen. Today, Quo Vadis has become more than just a three-day annual event. It's grown into a truly global initiative. Over the past 10 years, we've had 12 editions of Quo Vadis conferences in person, held across in cities in Canada, the United States, and Australia. And by the way, today is a very, very special day for Quo Vadis. It's actually our 11th birthday. The very first Quo Vadis that we had in 2009 was held on May 1st, guys. So a very special date today. All right, go for it, Joanna.
But so as you can see, everything is changing in the world right now, and we wanted to try something new and wanted to have some interesting events for our alumni and our network and our fans in between of Quo Vadis conferences, which is typically what we would just do, is just have conferences and not too many events in between. And of course, right when we decide to do that, there's a pandemic in the world and physical distancing. But we got together with Anya and decided, you know what, that's not going to stop us. We're still going to reach out and see how we can be of service and value to our network, our Quo Vadis Conferences Canada network. So we pivoted and we decided to bring our events online. And that's why we're so excited to host our very first ever webinar. And we think that you're going to truly enjoy the topic. It's very timely, networking in the digital age. We think that you'll learn a lot from our experienced guest speaker. we're also looking forward to learning a lot from him, even as hosts. Every time we speak to him, he's just got so much insights and information that we're like just bursting at the seams. So very excited. And Craig will share his tips and tricks with you all. And they're coming from his experience for working for a global social media tech giant, which I think he will let you know about. And also from him starting his own marketing agency. So I will let Craig take it from here.
Perfect. Thank you. Very nice to see you all. Thank you for coming. I know, again, during this pandemic, there really wasn't much else to do. So before I begin, I would like to throw a thank you back to Quo Vadis for inviting me here to speak to you guys about career networking in today's age. A lot of things have changed, and not only for applicants, but as well as for employers, the upgrading essentials have become pretty much prominent throughout the facilities that we're looking at. So before I begin, there are a few things that I would like to ask just to engage the audience. My first question is going to be, and this is a yes or no, you can just throw it into the chat, is I would like to know how many of you are currently still in school or have recently just graduated. And you can either just say yes or no, and that'll kind of give us a little bit of a heads up on what we're trying to look for and to tailor how we're going to go look. So I'll just give you guys a quick second to kind of pull in on that one.
Yeah, Craig, we just shared a poll, so they can also answer that if they're students, just starting, professional entrepreneurs looking for a career change.
Perfect. And I see that here on the poll. So
yeah.
Right now it looks like we've got quite a few professionals who are already in the industry, which is great. So I will tailor a few things and give you guys a little bit more tools that you can use for managing your different networks and being able to not only if you're looking to market a little bit of your business or if you're trying to expand. Now, I don't know if we have a poll on this, but one other thing, because we have so many professionals, I would like to know what type of industries you guys are currently working in. You know, are we looking into construction sales? Are we looking into financial? Are we looking into corporate sales? That type of thing. This is going to help to kind of harness in what type of tools you will look at and what you should be doing. So I'll just wait for a second and kind of give people a chance to type in an industry. And you can go basics. Once again, as I said, construction, education, sales, that type of thing. Nice. Wow. Okay. So I've got healthcare. For all our healthcare attendees today, thank you for doing what you guys are doing right now during this pandemic. All of us, thank you so much for everything that you're doing on the front lines. We know your time is very stressful. So thank you for joining us here today. So when we're looking at statistics and things like that, now I'll change up some of my statistics away from what employers are looking for and how to deal with networking on that side. So one of the first things that I would like to talk about, and I'll just jump in, is we're going to be looking at what networking tools we have in today's world. Now, a lot of you are already set up and you are already doing professional, you're already in your careers. I apologize. So one of the biggest things that we should be looking at when we're trying to expand what we're doing is creating our networks and being able to really put them together and stay on top of how we're starting to generate those. Now, in healthcare, in business, and everything else, we have different types of networks. You're going to have personal, you're going to have business. You're also then going to have selected industry networks that all have to be upkept. Now, how do we do this and what tools can we use to help manage all of this? Because I know for me personally, I can't remember 20% of the birthdays that exist in my networks, especially across multiple networks. So one of the big things that you can look at is, you know, not everyone can afford to buy. Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Dominic, for that. So to give you a bit of my past experience and why I've come to do what I do and why I'm here speaking with you guys today is when I came out of university, I decided to go into the construction industry as a geomatics engineer working in the oil sands in Alberta. I did that for about 3 to 4 years, and I loved it. But it was time that I wanted to get more into the business side of things. So when I came back to Ontario, I decided to go into corporate sales, dealing with engineering equipment, as well as selling oil and gas products throughout, which was an easy transition for me there. And I loved that part. From there, I had maxed out my commission in my first year. So it no longer seemed viable for me to stay in that type of industry. I wanted to expand what I was doing. So I upgraded and I decided to become a financial planner. And I worked for IG Wealth Management for 3.5 years. I made Pillar Platinum each year that I worked there. And I loved that part. And I still do financial planning on the side. But one of my main passions and why I decided to come into the marketing industry was I love to create. Even in financial planning, I created what was called the Financial Wellness Program that attached to health and safety programs of companies. As well, I created the Financial Plan Challenge to help get the younger generation involved in learning financial education. Since I love the marketing side of things, I wanted to expand and move my way to that. So I went back to school for university and I took business marketing. From there, I ended up working for Facebook, and I did that for just over 1.5 years. I currently, through this pandemic, still working there as much as we're on time off right now. And what I wanted to do was I upgraded in Facebook very quickly. I started off as a marketing expert. And within the first 3 months, I was moved to head marketing expert, dealing with any agencies who spend over $1 million in a fiscal year on the platform, dealing with advertising. Now, this started to generate perspective in my mind on how I wanted to combine not only my past experiences dealing with business, dealing with helping people on my terms. And this is what created the step to move towards opening my own marketing business that also has a bit of financial planning and business consulting on the sides with it. This is how I built up my experience. And I've gone back to school for not only micro and macroeconomics, I've gone back for business marketing, and I've also taken business and financial. So this kind of gives me my past experience, and I've jumped through many different industries, which has given me the insights to the different personalities and the different ways that people think. You know, people in regards to different industries, they have different processes on how they think. You know, you take the blue collar industry, your construction workers and everything else. You know, in some ways, we'll always deem them as a little bit less intelligent. You know, they didn't have that education and everything else, but their loyalty, that passion, everything else existed. So being able to tailor to those individuals means that you have to switch up how you're presenting who you are. You can't always just lead. Oh, sorry, Michael, Pillar Platinum is, it's the highest award you can get. So there's different stages for sales. So what Pillar Platinum was, in my first year, I ended up making over 100,000 at IG, and that's the mark for Pillar Platinum. That's kind of where we go on those ones. I hope that answered your question on those lines. Now, when we're looking at what type of tools and things like that, and as professionals and even as law clerks and everything else, one of the big things is maintaining our networks and being able to utilize the networks that we already have pre-built. Now, when I say that, when I look at different networks, can anyone throw out an idea of a network that you would have set up already and how to maintain that? I'll give you guys a second just to kind of throw a couple ideas out at me. Okay. If not, we're always going to have, you know, you have your inner networks, you have your personal networks, and all of these different types of things. One of the main things that you need to separate is you have to have career networks. And I'll just throw that here. These are essential, and you really... Polina network, perfect. So these would be personal, which is a personal network, which is very important. Volunteering networks are another good thing. Now, volunteering networks are going to affiliate and overlap with other networks, right? Sorry, I just wanted to read that. Excuse me. And when you're looking at managing these different types of networks, one of the biggest ones, especially for the guys who are in business, and I am going to tailor a little bit more on how to do this, is how to control what you're doing with your networks. And the ones that always forget, you also have to have industry networks. And this is a very important one to set up. This is why I talked about the different personality traits that exist with different people. You cannot lead with the same type of engagement that you would, let's say, if I was talking to lawyers versus if I was talking to engineers. The conversation does not match up whatsoever. So to separate these different types of networks, educational networks are a great one. I will come back to those. And those are for the individuals that are in here, especially coming out of school, and I will help you guys out with that one as well. There are many more that I will come into and I will talk about. The first ones that I want to do is when we're looking at our career networks. For me, I have about 7 different types of career networks. I have my recruiters that always exist when I'm either looking to bring into people or I'm looking to do connections. This is where my recruiting network is always going to be important for me. When I talk about my personal network, and sorry about that, one of the main portions and one of the main things that I really want to caution people. Now, for me, I'm an introvert for the most part. I'm very secluded. I deal with it that way. So what I have to do is I have to set up cloud-based and AI strategies to make sure that I'm always engaging with my network, even though I'm not normally the type of person who would be out there going, happy birthday, how are you? That's awesome. So what I do is I use email marketing and email campaigns to automatically send out on different situations. Now, I do that through tools called, and depending on what your level is, especially for people who don't want to spend much money, tools like Airtable or HubSpot CRM, these are free to use. Even if you want to upgrade, you're looking at $10 a month. And what these tools do is they automatically compile your different networks for you, and they help to always have that engagement when birthdays hit. Now, there is some data log that you would have to put in the initial, but once you have these set up, the software itself and the interface and the database will always be working for you. This is important, right? Even for lawyers. And, you know, I have a couple of lawyers in this chat room. So the one thing that I want to talk about, especially coming back to my industry point, when you're dealing with different people, you know, you've got your sports networks, you have everything else. You need to make sure that you have the engagement running through all different types. And I'll be fully honest with you, in business and especially financial, one of my most profitable networks was my construction guys. You know, they don't have the overlay. They're not always privy to all the information that the white collar networks are rotating through every single day. So when you're looking at these types of things, this is very important to dial things back and to know perspective, right? Especially if you're looking for new clients or new business, figuring out where your strengths and weaknesses are in your networks is always going to help you, right? These are very, very important to understand. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come back to my presentation a little bit, and I'm going to jump through. A lot of it was dealing with how to obtain a job, how to look for those. And for our newly educated or just coming out of university people, one of the big things that I'm going to talk about is how to run through the process of applying to a job or looking to obtain the career that you want to do. And a lot of this information is going to filter over for some of our professionals here. So one of the first things that I do whenever applying for a job or anything that I'm doing is called industry network. Now, what this is I will start with my localized networks. Let's say I wanted to apply to a company. I'm going to go through the company information on LinkedIn, find first, second, and third connections, and dial in who I know. Maybe I have a third connection that I can then spark up a conversation. Maybe I haven't talked to in a few months. Hey, how's it going? I was just seeing how you are, wanted to talk to you about things, you know, always to start a pre-conversation before getting into the actual idea of the conversation. Then moving towards, and this is why I mentioned LinkedIn. This is such a great resource using for applying to jobs, keeping up those networks, learning about different expansions and what's coming in the world. Like, especially with what I talked about with CRM, email platforms, affiliating marketing, all of these different types of things. I love LinkedIn. Yes, no, exactly. Even for me, I'm very, very subtle on LinkedIn, but I use it as a navigation tool. And for Dominic, I don't use it enough. I'm on the same page as you. I don't post. I don't do anything on those lines, but all I do is have my connections for that. And then if you're looking to apply to a job, and this is where I'm going to come back to this, is, you know, especially if you're coming straight out of school, you don't have the experience built up. And in today's world, employers will rate soft skills over knowledge and education just because of the situation of today. So how do we build that experience when we don't have it? Well, this is one of the first things. Now, what you should do is when you're looking to bring in, mentor, or to learn about the industry, is to go onto LinkedIn to find people in that industry. You know, people who have been established, have been working there for a very long time. And the way to approach to try and get a recommendation or a mentorship is to ask them about some of the struggles or adversities they face throughout their career, especially in changing times. Get them to talk about their business. Get them to kind of engage with you on some of the tips and tricks that they've learned over the time. And I will be fully honest, anybody over the age of 40 in a business loves to talk about what's worked for them. And they will fully engage on that style. And when you do that, you're building that connection. And what you're going to do with that, I'll talk about here in a second. But this is the very first stage, is doing localized research inside your network. And I'll come to why that's important in a little bit here. Then, before I ever apply to the job, I then do my company network. I'll look through the employees that they have, figure out some of the personality traits, some of the, I don't want to say political traits, but it is very important to isolate what type of company you're going into and where they promote their factors. From there, I'll look at events that are happening throughout the company. This is a great way to not only engage, but to pre-populate what I'm going to put in my resume or application, which is then going to lead into my conversational talking points inside the interview, right? And then again, I'm looking for affiliations associated with the company, because as much as I skipped over the statistics for a lot of our professionals here, you know, one of the main statistics that I will mention is the most people who get hired out of any application are people from a personal reference or people from a second or third reference. From there, it moves down into, recruiters, headhunters, and then moving down the lines on that. Affiliations are always very important, and we are going to utilize our affiliations to boost our experience and knowledge level coming into the interview. Now, what I mean by that, I'll come into that in a second. Once I've done that research, once I've done and compiled all of that data, figured out the industry, put that together, I am now going to apply for the position that I want. When I'm doing an application, one, and a lot of you professionals may argue with me on this, but by all means, go for it. It's called tailored resumes. And I mentioned this before, having multiple resumes for different companies, different industries, and everything else. It's in the same example of like having one pair of shoes. I don't think any of you have one pair of shoes. Why would you ever have just one resume? My business resume, I've got two of them. I've got one with a photo. I've got one without a photo. I have one that's a bit more professional and one that's a bit more salesy, depending on which way I'm going to kind of go. No, I like that, Lisa. So from there, what I want to talk about is a new age cover letter. And this is great for younger professionals or anyone coming out of school to boost your experience. Everything you did in step 1 and 2 about networking, going on LinkedIn, engaging different people, what you're going to do is you are going to compile all of that into what we like to call a new age cover letter. This is how you're going to emphasize your experience. This is how you're going to walk in to an interview or into a company already having those soft skills that they're looking for. Even though you didn't get them from university, you've now built them up with only really doing about maybe 5 days, having a conversation with about 5 different people. And all of a sudden, you now get to put on your resume or onto your cover letter all of those different steps. You know, this is what I did. I found people in the industry. This is who I utilized. You know, I learned that these adversities, these tips, these tricks, and compiling that into your cover letter is going to separate you from everybody else applying from that job. Especially if it's all new university students, this is what is going to set you apart because now you're boosting your experience. And I know 99.9, about a month and a half ago, they did a broadcast and they talked about resumes and everything else and about lying on resumes. Like the financial industry, like the stock market, if you've heard about it, trust me, your employers already know about it. It's like a tip on the stock market. By the time you've heard about it, it's no longer actually a tip because that fluctuation has already climbed to its peak. And this is how people lose a lot of money. It's the same type of thing when we're looking at dealing with applying for a job and everything else. Not government, personally. My cousin actually, she just got a job out of Carleton University for the government. And to give an example on how that switched over, just because I love the debate, is she was struggling. And so we did the same tactic. Now, men, you're going to be a little disappointed with me on this one, but with where we are in today's age, most companies, especially government and even larger corporations, have made it a mandate or a mission to equalize out upper management with 50-50 men and women. And in order to be able to do that, it is now a 70-30 split that they are more likely to hire a woman for a position than they will a man, which I feel for right now is a good thing in our day and age because we do have to get to that equality somehow, which means as men, we have to kind of relax and step down. But coming back to what she did and why this worked, she utilized going after women in the industry and what adversities they faced, how they overcame maybe sexism or anything else that they had to face in their profession. She ended up meeting a couple NPs who really got engaged with her, and throughout that conversation gave the recommendation for her position. She got the position, and she kind of made that work throughout her career, right? This is why we're trying to generate. Even with government, I understand that education is very important, but you know there's a political game inside the government. My mom actually used to work for you guys. She worked for Profac, which manages all of yours. And that always works. So when we look at step 4, which is doing the research in on the company, this, I believe, is one of the most crucial points. It's not just solely enough to know about the company. You need to know their mission statement. You need to know what their vision is, what news they have going on today, as well their plans for growth. You know, especially for the younger generations, you're on the internet, you're on your phone. 1 hour of research is going to be extremely important, right? If you're already there, you've spent 20 minutes on Facebook, jump over, do 20 minutes of research on a company. Figure out what they're going, where they're bringing it. Because if you can stump your interviewer in the interview, you've won. Know what you're dealing with. Yes, both are very, and bilingual. My cousin, she speaks 6 languages. So yes, I understand with the government, you have to be bilingual. There's always those prerequisites going into that. Nobody can change that unless you're going back to school. What I'm trying to talk about is how to emphasize and build upon what you already have for building blocks and how to expand on those. So once you do that company research, the next step is to research your interviewer. Because anybody who's doing interview, even when I've hired people, the main thing that I've already predetermined who I kind of want to hire, you know, dealing with personality traits and everything else. Now, I will throw a disclaimer out on this, which will be, do not add the interviewer that you're researching. That will be a negative connotation on your application. But do the research, figure out what personality traits he has, maybe where he went to school, how he did that, because these are going to be your conversation talking points. You know, when he's asking for your positives and negatives and some of the questions that your interviewer is going to throw at you, tailoring your answers to what his interests are is going to be a leg up, which is going to separate you no matter what your experience level is or moving forward, right? So as you're looking at those types of things, you'll put those in and you'll apply those to some of your responses going into the interview. Now, we've talked a little bit about the interview and we've kind of gone through those stages. With you guys as professionals and everything else, one of the main things that I'm going to tell you, especially for the financial guys, especially coming out of this pandemic and especially with what's going on in the market today, there is going to be a huge shift in client base. This is something that you need to start predetermining to act upon. I have selected clients that have already started. There are now going to be advantages, which means that you can start to look at these advantages and help to get them across to your clients. Community building is going to be essential. No matter what type of business, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a financial planner, even in construction or government, the generation of today, millennials and Gen Zers, are looking for a community feel when they associate themselves or give their money to any brand. Now, how do you build that without losing out on money or without losing on everything else or jumping over and spending lots of money doing marketing campaigns? That part is very easy. All you have to do is give them the platform to be able to cross through your affiliations. So as a financial planner, I made sure my networks are in place for mortgage brokers, for everything else. And what we did is we did cross promotions and cross affiliation marketing. This will always help to generate new and returning customers on that referral side. On the marketing side, you know, I don't want to jump too hard into marketing because that's really not what this is about. But when you're looking at marketing, one of the biggest things that is free to do, I'll come back to the email campaigns. Setting those up and maintaining those, and again, I'll come back to, let's say, a product like Airtable, is going to be essential, right? Having those cue points, having those set up is something that every business will always need to have. As well, realize that the industry is changing. Realize that it is all going digital. And it's going, the evolution of the digital age has just expanded and jumped probably 5 years because of this pandemic. That being said, be on the cutting edge of it, whether you're a business, whether you're a mom and pop shop, everything else. Understand the utilization of being able to attract. Now, what do we know about millennials and Gen Zers? Well, we know that they like communities. We know that they're very phone oriented. Most don't even have laptops or utilize them because their phone has the capabilities to do it all. So when you're creating promotions or you're creating marketing events to boost your brand, know that you have to switch over to appeal to phones. Because even if you jump on your Facebook and you go to that little insight tab, you can start to look at where all of your customers are coming from. And I'll guarantee most of you I'll bet over 65% is through their phone. So if you're running base photos, base promotions, and things like that, it's not engaging in today's world. It doesn't have to be. And I'm not saying bust out a video and put it that way, because one, most millennials and Gen Zers won't actually watch more than about 10 seconds of a video before they skip or move down the line. Understanding what you're utilizing your stuff for. So as I wanted to talk about networking, and as I wanted to keep up, I find local businesses with good marketing on social media are doing really well right now, and they very much are. And, you know, you can start to see on their phones. Nice. And, you know, when you're looking at small mom and pop shops and things like that, it was the same thing I was telling the girls last night. You know, new campaigns are coming into light, creating that community feel, giving back to your clients and running those through. Your clients will protect you if there is something in it. I don't really want to make people seem selfish, but in every way, there's got to be kind of something in it for everybody, which is how we win. So like for mom and pop shops, the same thing I told the girls, you know, why not take 5% of every product, put that back in and boost a once a year event, utilizing that 5%, putting it all together. And the only way you get an invite to this event is by being a loyal customer. You have now just created urgency, competition, community, and your generation through affiliation. And this is why affiliations in networking are always going to be very important, because when you're going to host an event, your affiliations are going to want to advertise through that platform and through that event, which is going to make up the loss of that 5% on the products throughout. Not to mention the growth in business is exponential. Even on the same things, you know, I know we've got more professionals and everything else like that, but looking at what we're doing on the digital age is immense. It's about to be everything. Industry is changing. There are companies in the UK that have just started building fully automated shipping warehouses where companies can now send programming on how to build their product and everything else, lease out time in these automated shipping warehouses so that we're no longer using shipping containers across oceans and we're doing localized shipping inside of these zones. That's another good tip for a lot of you financial planners because those networks are thriving and they're generating through that. So, you know, I've kind of ran up a little bit of time here and I would like the girls to kind of talk a little bit more. Now, originally, you know, when we were hosting this event, we were dealing with a lot more university students and things like that. I've noticed through this event that we have a lot more professionals, people in government, and looking along those lines. I'm not able to go through marketing. I can talk for 6 hours about any given topic. If you have a selective question or a specific question, I should say, about any different style of marketing or any different style of networking, even what tools or things like that I use for my clients, by all means, you can ask me anything and I'll give you a straight answer. You know, when looking at how to derive what we're going to do to make our business better, there's a million different options. Everyone is always going to have a different solution. One of the main things that I'll come back to is understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are. Once you know that, even in marketing, even in business, you can isolate your weaknesses to improve them. You can boost your strengths to do it that way. Doing the backside of analytics is everything. You know, I even say with promotions, especially dealing with people, I was never a loud, boisterous guy. I've had mentors who were, and they did amazing things with it. I understand the point of the boisterous. Anytime efficient ideas for virtual. Hold on one second. For virtual networking, given COVID-19 long term. So can you expand on time efficient? What do you mean by that? Compiling data, upkeeping AI, cloud-based? What are we looking for when you talk about time efficient? Okay. So this is a very large topic. Time efficient ideas. Hold on one second. Easy on the long term. I like that. For virtual networking, what industry are you in, Justina? I apologize. I can go back. And, you know, if I don't get a lot of time here to explain this, finance and federal government. So for virtual networking, the best time efficient you have is one, I never recommend utilizing personal Facebook. This is your personal life. It doesn't need to be overlapped. And you actually do better with almost an air of mysteriousness about your personal life. And it's not about you, it's about your clients. The best strategies that you have, especially for time efficient and everything else, as I mentioned, is using free CRM platforms to build your email campaigns, to build your cross. Now, you have paid for platforms like CRM, where I'm talking about Salesforce and those types of guys. But as I said, Airtable, HubSpot, all of these are free CRMs that you can start to generate and to build those email lists. Very important because it's free marketing. That's why emails are so good. Through affiliations, it's understanding. Now, when I was in finance, for me, it was compiling a lot of events and marketing. That's how I did that. But for time efficiency on the back end, Airtable, HubSpot, good to know. Exactly. But time efficient, you still got to put in the data. There's nothing that's going to save you. But with these CRM platforms, they have AI technology behind them that automate responses, that automate, happy birthdays and everything else. And you can set these to anniversaries, birthdays, things like that. When you have an upcoming promotion, you can then separate your network. Say you have an upcoming promotion for your top 1% clients. Perfect. All you would have to do is put in top 1% clients. This is the promotion. The system itself will automatically generate that advertising or those emails or anything else that you're doing to selected people in those networks. It's the same thing as marketing. We can tailor it down through. So those are types of things transferable to any business related. Yeah, exactly. Those are one of the best things for time efficiency on networking. Because nobody, if you're running 500 clients, you don't have the time to call them all. The best is throwing a shout out. Facebook is coming up with their new platform, which is then going to allow you to build in those networks as well through Facebook, to give a Facebook message, to, give a shout out on that sense. Those are coming down the lines. They're not fully there yet. So dealing with that side of things, email is still one of the strengths on that. Any LinkedIn networking tips, given that professional emails can change due to job changes? Hold on one second. Just let me read that again. Given that professional emails will always change and run it through. LinkedIn networking tips, once again, those CRMs will connect to your LinkedIn. They'll connect to your Facebook. They'll connect to everything. I'm coming back. Client relationship models are one of the best things for time efficiency. Once you build up your networks, build up your client database, you can then utilize and split that out to whatever platforms you're using, right? Depending on what type of software you're using, interface might not be compatible with selected platforms, but that's okay, right? All you have to do then is if you jump on the CRM, put in the selected database or the selected clientele list that you'd want, take it, copy it, jump it over into what platform that they don't coincide with, drop it in, send out your response, right? LinkedIn is dropped. They still have, I believe it's 71 billion users, 71 billion viewers throughout a year, which is immense, right? This is people returning. This is people jumping back forward. It's great for business. It's great for jobs, and it's great for everything else. If you're looking to promote your business or to, let's say, bring in new clients or anything else, I would not recommend doing that through LinkedIn. Only because you're really limiting what you're trying to look for. People utilize LinkedIn, as you've probably seen in the chat here just tonight. They don't utilize it as much. even professionals, unless they're looking for a job, hiring for somebody, or there's a selected thing that they're doing, most, I'm going to say roughly probably in somewhere about 60%, do not focus on LinkedIn as they would, let's say, blogs or Facebook, Instagram, and those types of platforms. You have to go with where the data is driving. So that would be my biggest recommendation. I'm still going back with the client relationship model. It is one of the best for setting those up. And there are free tools, as I've mentioned here a couple times. This is really going to save you months, inside a year, trying to compile, remember, and get and reach out to every single one of your clients. So I know I've taken up a little bit of time. I've kind of jumped over just because of the types of attendees we've had. Would you say attending trade shows, conferences, and other events, or is this becoming less common? No, it's actually becoming bigger. And once I said, and as I said about how the world's going to change, the world is going to become more about recreation, and work is going to become more about digital. These are the avenues we are going to. I was always in events. For me, my grandfather taught me to golf at a very young age. So when I ran my business, I did a lot through charity events and golfing events and things like that. Trade shows are an amazing thing. If you are either looking to build your network or reconnect, or even to sell a product or yourself, having those booths at a trade show are huge. But if you're going to do a booth, like we've done a few, have something to give people. Just coming in to read a pamphlet and to talk to you isn't engaging enough. You know, we used to utilize chip to win, putt to win, whatever it is. There's different games and different things that the kids are following today. Always try to update on what is current and popular or what's hot. This is going to help you to generate. Always have something engaging for people to do when they come and talk to you. Because unless you are in the top 5% categories who can talk about anything and win over anybody, you have to make sure that there's other engagement for people to do when they come see you, especially at a trade show, right? Awesome. So once again, you know, I do apologize. We were a little bit sporadic here just because I wanted to give a little bit of information to some of you professionals. For a lot of you university students, I couldn't go into as depth on how to set yourself apart from the competition. And in today's world, there is competition. Know what to do to make yourself in the top 2% before you ever walk into the interview. And I will recommend, I've heard this rumor before, and I heard a lot of people, never, ever lie on your resume. Embellishing or looking at those types of strategies is very strategic. You know, if you were in retail sales and you were doing a 50% off, let's say Garage was doing a 50% off sale, and it was your job to write in the advertisement on the boards and everything else, that can be manipulated into, you know, work to help create marketing slogan. Did those types of things. That's how you can embellish. But trust me, never, ever lie on your resume. The employers, they know about it. They use multi-measure tools. They will find out. I think one of my statistics, about 75% of employers have said they've caught a candidate in a lie, and instantly that nixes your entire application. An embellishment, everyone does. Utilize that to your advantages. Just don't lie. Okay, so I'm going to pin in. Perfect. See, in the same sense. Guys, listen. Thank you very much for attending. It was great speaking to you guys today. If you have any questions, by all means, throw them and we'll talk about it after. I'm going to let the girls take over here. And once again, I would just like to thank Quo Vadis for having me here to speak to you guys. Yeah, other than that, have a great night. See you.
Presentation. I think you all agree that you did a really good job. So please say thank you in the chat, and don't head out just yet. I also want to say, Craig, it's not that easy to cater to such a diverse crowd. So you made such a coherent presentation on such an important subject. So thank you so much, Craig. Okay, so we'd also like your feedback on the topic that might be of interest for our next webinar. So Joanna's actually putting up a poll right now. If you could click and let us know. There it is. And don't sign off yet because we have a special announcement to make. So now I'm going to move on to Jacqueline Wojciechowski, who is coming online from London, Ontario. Love the balloons.
Hello, everyone. I've lost a couple. I tried, you know, with COVID, I can't really go out and get a bunch. So this is this is what you guys have. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Wojciechowski, and I am not only here tonight for the very informative presentation provided by Mr. Kitchen. Thank you also for pointing out that conferences are still going to be relevant after COVID. But I am also here to bring some great news for everyone. So it is, hello Dominique. It is my pleasure to announce the next Canadian Quo Vadis will be hosted right here in London, Ontario by yours truly. So just gonna bring something up here quickly. So the hope is with Quo Vadis London to bring in the next generation of QV students and young professionals in this new digital age with an array of both educational and yet entertaining features. Hope everybody can see this. So with the next wave of youth and already awesome alumni, something that I've really wanted to put together is a mentorship program within Quo Vadis to kind of help connect the two. So those alumni interested will provide guidance to those unsure of where to start or may have questions about their field and how to get involved. We are all here to help each other succeed, and I'm really hoping that this will help build future bridges with our next generation. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can get together and bring these projects to life. And so with that, if anybody's interested in being part of, London has a lot of high-rising buildings, maybe just not as much as Toronto. I promise you guys, even though we are small compared to Toronto, I promise Quo Vadis London will be just as exciting. But if anybody is interested in becoming a part of the exec team, I'm really wanting to expand our team and reach as wide as possible. So I'm really hoping if anybody would like, please reach out to me directly or through Quo Vadis to Anya and Joanna. And thank you again also to Anya and Joanna for this opportunity. And Anya will be able to take over back from here. But any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me personally.
And that's the end of our very first webinar. So thank you so much again, Craig Kitchen from KITCH Marketing. You can find him on Facebook. Thank you so much for all your useful insights, and to our intern, Daria, who's been here in the background helping us out a lot for making this webinar happen. To Jacqueline for making this amazing announcement. We're very excited about Quo Vadis London and you leading the next Quo Vadis in Canada. And to all of you for joining, thank you so much for being here. We know it's a Friday, so we hope you had, some tea or a drink with you, and we hope you enjoyed your time with us. And have a great weekend. And Joanna, anything else?
No, this has been very insightful, fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for your engagement and your questions and your feedback. That is exactly what we were wanting and seeing, and making sure you're all part of this webinar as much as we wanted to put on for you. So we're super excited. If you want to continue the conversation on after this, let us know on our Facebook page, let us know on Instagram, email us. If you're interested in helping Jacqueline out, for sure, send us an email. And yeah, I guess it's really happy birthday, Quo Vadis. 11 years today.
Years, and Joanna is actually 40 weeks today, so I can't believe you're still here with us. What a champ.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the baby's not coming. It is just my baby had to hear this webinar, so I decided to stay in.
All right, well, thank you so much, everybody, and have a good night, and we hope to see you at the next one. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yes, it will be recorded and sent to everybody's emails. Yes. Good night, everyone. Thanks so much again.